In a quiet, working-class town in Ohio lived a man named Daniel Carter, a widowed father in his late 40s. Daniel wasn't just a mechanic. He was a fighter. Every morning before sunrise, he'd pull on his oil-stained overalls, kiss his little daughter on the forehead, and whisper, "See you after school, kiddo. Be good for me, all right?" But behind that smile was a man barely holding it together. After losing his wife 3 years ago, Daniel was doing everything he could to keep life normal for his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. Their small 2-bedroom house was old and creaky, the heater broke every winter, and sometimes dinner was just canned soup and bread. At the auto shop where Daniel worked, he was respected, but everyone knew he struggled. Coworkers often offered to lend him money, but Daniel always refused. "No, man," he'd say, shaking his head. "I'll figure it out. I always do." He was proud, maybe too proud. He didn't want handouts. He didn't want pity. He wanted to earn everything with his own 2 hands. But every night, when Lily had fallen asleep, Daniel would sit alone at the kitchen table, staring at the pile of bills. He'd rub his eyes, whisper a quiet prayer, and say, "God, just give me enough strength for her. That's all I ask." Sometimes Lily would peek from her room and see her dad sitting there in the dim light, shoulders heavy, eyes tired. One night she walked over, wrapped her little arms around him, and said softly, "Dad, maybe it's okay to ask for help sometimes." Daniel smiled faintly, pulling her close. "I can't, sweetie. Not yet. We're gonna be all right. We just have to keep believing." But deep down, he knew things were getting worse. Rent was late. Groceries were running out. And even though he tried to hide it, his pride was starting to cost them both. Daniel didn't know it yet, but a single act of kindness was about to change everything. And it would happen on a night he least expected. Stay with me, because soon, Daniel's simple act of goodness on a rainy road will test just how much kindness he's willing to give, even when he has nothing left. It was late one evening, the kind of cold, rainy night when most people would rather be home. Daniel had just finished a 10-hour shift. His hands were covered in grease, his back ached, and his stomach growled from skipping dinner. As he drove home in his beat-up pickup truck, the rain started pouring harder. Wipers squeaked against the windshield, streetlights blurred into streaks of yellow. That's when he noticed something up ahead. An old sedan pulled over to the side of the road, hazard lights blinking. An elderly man stood outside, struggling with a flat tire. Daniel slowed down, debating for a second. He was exhausted. He just wanted to go home. But something in his heart wouldn't let him drive past. He pulled over. "Evening, sir," Daniel said, stepping out into the rain. "You all right?" The old man, Mr. Harrison, looked up in surprise. "Oh, thank goodness. My tire blew out and my phone died. I've been out here nearly an hour." Without hesitation, Daniel grabbed his tools. "Don't worry about it, I've got you." Rain soaked through his clothes, his hands trembled from the cold, but he worked fast. Within 15 minutes, the spare tire was on. Mr. Harrison reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a wallet. "Please, at least let me pay you for your time," he said. But Daniel shook his head. "No need for that. Just glad I could help." The old man smiled warmly, eyes full of gratitude. "Well, can I at least have your number? I insist. You never know when kindness like this might need to be repaid." Daniel hesitated, then scribbled his number on a scrap of paper. "All right," he chuckled. "But you really don't owe me a thing." As Daniel drove away, rain still falling, he felt something rare, peace. He didn't realize that the man he'd just helped was about to become the turning point of his life. But sometimes, life has a way of testing you, right before it blesses you. And for Daniel, the next test was about to break him completely. Let's see just how far Daniel's kindness can stretch when the world seems to take everything away. A week later, things took a turn for the worse. Daniel's old truck, the same one he needed to get to work, broke down on his way home. The engine coughed, sputtered, then went silent. He sat there in the driver's seat, rain dripping through a crack in the window, staring at the steering wheel in disbelief. The mechanic quoted him more than $900 to fix it, money Daniel simply didn't have. When he missed 2 days of work, his boss called him in. "Daniel, I like you, but we can't keep a guy who can't make it to work. I've got a business to run." Daniel pleaded. Please, just a few more days. I'll figure something out. But the boss shook his head. I'm sorry, Dan. I have to replace you. That night, Daniel walked home, drenched, tired, and defeated. He sold his watch, his last good pair of tools, just to buy food for Lily. At home, he tried to keep things normal. When Lily asked, Dad, are we going to be okay? He smiled and said, Of course we are, sweetheart. We always are. But when she went to bed, Daniel sat alone in the dark kitchen, staring at the empty fridge. He whispered, Maybe I've failed her. Tears fell quietly. The house felt colder than ever. Then, a soft knock at the door. Daniel opened it to find a homeless man standing there, shivering, holding a cardboard sign. Sir, he said, I'm sorry to bother you, but do you have anything to eat? Daniel looked back at the kitchen, only one bowl of soup left. The last bit of food in the house. He hesitated, then smiled sadly and said, Come in. It's not much, but it's warm. They sat together, sharing that single bowl of soup in silence. As the man left, he said softly, God bless you, sir. You have no idea what this means. When the door closed, Daniel leaned against it, tears in his eyes, and whispered, I hope God's listening, 'cause I could use a blessing too. Little did Daniel know, his prayer had already been answered. Because the very next morning, someone unexpected would come knocking. The next morning, Daniel heard the sound of a car pull up outside his small home. He looked through the window and saw something unusual, a shiny black Mercedes parked by the curb. A well-dressed man stepped out, carrying a leather briefcase. When Daniel opened the door, he froze. It was Mr. Harrison, the same elderly man he'd helped that rainy night. Mr. Carter, the man greeted warmly. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Daniel looked puzzled. No, of course not. What brings you here? Mr. Harrison smiled. You helped me when no one else would. I told you I'd repay that kindness one day. He handed Daniel an envelope. Inside was a letter and a check. Daniel's hands trembled as he read. Mr. Harrison continued, I own Harrison Motors, one of the largest auto companies in the state. Every few years, I look for people who still believe in goodness without expecting something in return. You reminded me that those people still exist. Daniel blinked, speechless. Mr. Harrison smiled. That check covers your debts. And if you're willing, I'd like to offer you a position as head mechanic at one of my workshops, with full pay, housing assistance, and benefits for your daughter. Daniel was stunned. His voice cracked. Sir, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Mr. Harrison replied softly. Just keep being the man you already are. Lily ran out from her room and hugged her dad, crying. Daniel knelt down, holding her tight, whispering, See, kiddo? Sometimes, kindness really does come back. In one moment, everything changed. Daniel's kindness, his humility, and his faith in doing good had finally paid off. Months later, life looked different for the Carters. Daniel now worked at a modern auto shop, clean floors, good pay, and respectful coworkers. Lily attended a better school, her smile brighter than ever. They had a small but beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood, with laughter echoing through the halls once again. One Saturday afternoon, as they unpacked boxes in their new home, Lily found an old photo of their rundown house, the one they'd left behind. She looked at her dad and asked, Dad, do you ever miss the old days? Daniel smiled, setting down his wrench. Sometimes. Those days were hard, but they taught me something. He sat beside her, his voice calm and warm. Sometimes, kindness costs pride. But the return it's always greater than you think. Later that week, Daniel was seen at a local community shelter, fixing bicycles for kids who couldn't afford them. When someone asked why he volunteered every weekend, he smiled and said, Because someone once reminded me that kindness is a circle. It always finds its way back. True strength isn't in pride, it's in compassion. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors, not just for us, but for everyone we touch. Because when you choose kindness over pride, you don't just change your life, you inspire others to do the same. Be kind. Be humble. Because the universe always remembers. Moral of this story: true strength isn't measured by how much you can endure alone, but by how much love and compassion you can show even when you have nothing left. Pride might keep you standing, but kindness will help you rise. Because when you choose humility over ego and kindness over pride, life has a way of rewarding you in ways you could never imagine. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Because you never know, your small act of kindness might change someone's entire world. Don't forget to subscribe to the Cherished Stories channel for more inspiring stories like this, where every story reminds us that even in the hardest times, goodness always finds a way back. And remember, we're not just telling stories. We're changing lives.